And my final request video in this series was somebody asked me if I would talk about Boohbah. Oh, Boohbah. I love that program so much. It was really my baby because it was completely movement based. So I mean, I was in it right from the very, very beginning. I helped with the casting. We cast these 5 amazing performers. And then I was given such a tremendous amount of freedom. Go away and make some dances. So, it's like a choreographer's dream, which, that had been my job. I was a choreographer before I did Teletubbies, choreographer, dancer. So just to be given the freedom to go away and make dances with fabulous performers was so wonderful. And of course, by that time, I'd worked with Anne and Andy and Ragdoll for a long time, and I'd learned an awful lot about how children's brains worked. And I did a huge amount of research. I used to go into schools and playgroups and so forth, and just kind of I used to do this thing where I would go in and I would just stand, and then like half a dozen children or whatever would be brought in. And I wouldn't say anything or do anything. I just kind of exude warmth and smiley loveliness. And eventually one of the kids would sort of do something like this, and I'd just copy it. And they'd shuffle a little bit and I'd copy them. And eventually the penny would drop that the game was that I was this sort of grown-up human puppet for them to play with. And then they kind of do things like, they go in the assumption that I wouldn't put my finger up my nose, but I would. And what that would start with, that then they would be in competition with each other and with me. Could they do something that I wasn't able to copy? Could they do something that was better than the thing that their friend had done? So it would end, and almost completely non-verbal, they'd be laughing, a few noises, and occasionally a little bit of chat, but mostly almost nothing. And then at some point they would go, as it sort of started to break down a bit, because you couldn't maintain that formality, I don't think, and keep their interest. So once we'd kind of got to that, then I'd sort of break down a little bit and become more chatty and pally with them. And then it would turn into the game of them going, look what I can do, look what I can do. And then they'd show me a thing, and obviously with a view to, can you copy it? And can their friends copy it? It was just the most brilliant thing. And it was so informative to see which movements came up again and again, which things had meaning for them, which things the children loved doing, which things they weren't interested in, and so forth. So those were the movements that I put into the choreography, plus everything that I'd learned from Anne and Andy. And my own choreographic experience of space and time and patterns. A lot of it was all about pattern forming and things like the jumping up and down dance. Just in a line and they all danced. They just jumped up and down, but in different patterns. That there's very mathematical. And so you were feeding it in. It's like with all of the ragdoll programs, and people just think, oh, it's just larking about. It isn't. It's very educational, but it's like this deep level education rather than kind of going, this is the number 4. It's like, here is the number 4, and now you see 2 and 2, and now you see 3 and 1, and like that, which is kind of getting these mathematical patterns into the children's heads, while they just think they're joining in with some jumping. Education by a surreptitious manner, So that was wonderful about Boohbah. And just the wonderment when we were testing it, and kind of, I'd made these dances with the performers, and then we tested them, we filmed them, just as them as humans, and we'd put them on a little video and show them to the kids, and it was just, please, 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 because the whole point was that the children would get up and join in. Would they? And they did it around the world to such a tremendous degree, so that was the real point of Boohbah, was kind of getting them up off the couch and joining in with some movement and enjoying it, and never being told, get up and join in, letting them make the decision to join in so that they had so much more investment in it. And at the most basic level, that is Boohbah.